Hey, what's up guys, TheJordude here, back again with another Shadowverse video. In this video I wanted to talk about the recently nerfed cards and basically give my opinion on them post nerf and tell you guys if they are still a good card, do they still have potential, or are they pretty much not played anymore, won't see any play anymore, and you could just vial them for the full refund. So the first card, as we all know, is Tove that got hit. It used to be a 3/3, it's now a 2/2. So basically, Blood now post nerf, they are basically just playing either aggro Blood, so just pure aggro. They could be playing like the Karabos version. You could also be playing Vengeance Blood, which doesn't run neutrals. The aggro Blood doesn't run neutrals as well. Some people are still playing Phantom Cats. So Phantom Cat neutral Blood, you could possibly see Toven, although it's not as powerful as a card as it was before. So maybe you just rather have another neutral that synergizes better with your deck. So overall, I don't think Tove is that good of a card anymore post nerf. The 1/1 stat difference is actually such a big difference when Tove can't go 2-for-1 anymore. It's basically all the time just go for a 1-for-1, and you have to set this condition, so it's not really worth it anymore. You rather just choose other 2-drops. So overall, Tove not seeing much play anymore. So you could vial it for the full refund if you're super budgeted on vials. It is only a bronze card, so you're not getting like that. You only gain 50 back. So if you don't really need the vials, you might as well just keep it. But if you really need those vials and want to get the full value on your refunds, then sure, you could vial Tove. I don't think you'll be seeing much play for a while or ever. Next card that got nerfed is Baphomet. So Baphomet basically removed its enhance effect as well as changed its fanfare effect completely. So now it doesn't search out a blood card that was 5 attack or more and adds it to your hand. Now it's just a random Bloodcraft follower. So I'm not too sure if this isn't. Of course, it is kind of a nerf to like to your combos, your Spawn of the Abyss, your Azazels and stuff. However, Baphomet is still seeing play in a lot of blood decks, mainly aggressive blood decks, just because it's a 2-drop that's 2 attacks, so it does trade into other 2-drops. It doesn't fare well against things like Angel of Word or like goblins and stuff. However, it does cycle through your deck, it thins your deck out more, and you add keeps gas into your hand, especially in the early game. So Baphomet is still playable, you can still play it. Maybe it'll draw your Big Knuckle Bodyguard, which is very important on 4, and things like that. So like Baphomet's still playable. Even though it did ruin the combos with it, I don't necessarily think it is a nerf, because now you can search out other blood cards which you couldn't before. So like again, like your BKB, your Scarlet Cerberus, things like that, Baphomet can now search out for you, which isn't too bad. So Baphomet's still playable. I would recommend keeping it if you have them. Although if you have extras like I do, like I have 5 Baphomets, you could liquify your extras and get that value out. Alright, so the last blood card that got nerfed was Spawn of the Abyss, and basically they changed its effect so that he only does 5 damage when he attacks in ambush form or if he dies in ambush. So basically they removed it from 6 and 8, which does make a big difference. Like if you're evolving and going face, you're doing 13 instead of 16, you can't just finish them off with like an Alucard or Emeralda anymore. So that extra bit of health could make a difference. It could mean like the blood player needs 1 extra turn, and then that 1 extra turn they just die. So Spawn of the Abyss did get a bit weaker. You're not seeing it as played as much anymore, especially because you can't get it out on turn 6 with Baphomet. I think if they made this nerf to Spawn of the Abyss but kept Baphomet the same, then you probably could still play this style of deck where it's just revolved around killing your opponent with Spawn. But now that you have to play Spawn of the Abyss for 8 play points, it's quite a bit slower. The damage isn't as impactful as it was before. But I think the big difference was the Baphomet interaction with it. So Spawn of the Abyss, I still think it is playable. Some people might still be playing it. I have seen it a couple times on ladder, although it's not as strong as before. So if you really do want those vials, and you can liquify Spawn of the Abyss, get a different legendary instead to work on the decks you're building, then you could totally go for it. I don't think you would regret not having Spawn of the Abyss in your collection anytime soon, especially because right now Blood is still very powerful, and all the powerful Blood decks do not play Spawn of the Abyss. So yeah, you're good to go in liquifying this card. Alright, so the next card we're going to talk about is Goblin Leader. So of course Goblin Leader changed from 3 cost to 4 cost, and they gave him a +1/+1 stat. So he's now 2/3 instead of a 1/2. So Goblin Leader, kind of like how he is, how Prince of Catacomb is. It's just that 4 play points is so much slower than turn 3. You can't go Goblin Leader into Alice in Wonderland anymore. So the Goblin Leader, super slow. There are still neutral decks out there. You can still play Neutral Rune, there's Neutral Blood. I have seen a couple of Neutral Force, and of course there's Neutral Sword. So Neutrals is not dead. It's just that not every class is playing Neutrals anymore, because Goblin Leader on 3 into Alice was so powerful, but now that you don't have that anymore and Goblin Leader is just awful to play on turn 4 now, it's just, yeah, you pretty much don't want to play him, and neutral decks that are doing fine don't really need him. So Goblin Leader, you could not get anymore. You could vial him if you want, although of course it's a bronze, so you're not getting much vials back. But yeah, Goblin Leader probably won't see any more play. The next card that we're going to talk about is Prince of Snow White. This is the Haven legendary, and it changed from being a 2/3 in an evolved form to now a 2/2. So this minor change, it does make a big difference though, because 3 health was a lot more than 2 health. Before you were able to play Snow White on 2, they play Grimnir on 3, and then Snow White could trade into the Grimnir completely and survive. So your Snow White can possibly get like a 2-for-1, maybe a bit more, or it was always at least like a 1.5 in my opinion for that one card. So Prince of Snow White being nerfed down to 2 stats is quite a big difference, because now you play Snow White on 2, they play something like Illyrio on 2, and now your Snow White, both parts of it has to trade into Illyrio, which is a big difference. So it is a big nerf, or it is quite a significant nerf to the card. However, it's still playable. Like, it's still a 2-drop that challenges other 2-drops. Sometimes it could do a little bit more. It activates your Heavenly Hounds, so it's still a very solid card, and it's just a good 2-drop option you can run in your Haven deck, aside from like some miscellaneous 2-drop. So yeah, you can still play this card. If you want a liquefier, you can. For the full value, you can craft some other legendary, because Snow White, unless you really want to play Haven, I don't think Haven's super powerful right now. There's other crafts that are just better right now. So if you used to play a lot of Haven, but now you don't want to play Haven anymore, you could just liquefy it, get something else. It's possible that she comes in the trial, in the wave 3 of pre-build decks anyways, so there's always that to consider for your legendaries. Next card I want to talk about is Grimnir. So Grimnir, basically they removed his effect where it does damage to your opponent's face. So now it only does damage to your enemy followers, which was a fine nerf. I think it was needed, because Grimnir was just that card that every deck could run, and to have like that end game reach to your opponent's damage for burn damage, or just as such a swing card if the game gets grindy. So I do really like the change this, and Grimnir's still playable. Like, you still see it in Aegis Haven or Ramp Dragons, they still like to play it. So I do think Grimnir's still playable. It's not as strong as before, but he's still a strong card to have. I don't think you need to liquefy it, because you probably still play it in quite a few decks that you want to play. It's still really good in neutrals, because it's a 3-drop neutral card that goes into Alice, and it's got a good stat line, it's got ward. So Grimnir's still a good card, and you could get this off of the Dragon pre-build deck of wave 2. If you do that, you could get the full value. If you already have 3, get the extra vials. So yeah, Grimnir's still decent, good balance change overall, and I would still keep it, because I do think it will still have play for the near future. The last card is Ouroboros. This dragon legendary. They removed the healing effect that before, when it died, you used to gain 3 life. Now it doesn't have that at all. So Ouroboros, it's still a very good card, especially against other other control decks, because it could just grind out your opponent. Against mid-range or aggro decks, if you're able to stabilize with things like your Sybils, maybe you had like an Israfel, you got a lot of board clears, Ouroboros could still do a lot for you, because you could gain the tempo where they just starting to put one thing down at a time. Then the Ouroboros fanfare is still pretty good. It's not as good as before, of course, because now you can't just play Ouroboros every turn and then just grind your opponent out completely with one card, but because you don't gain the life. But it's still a very solid card. I do think Dragon lists are still playing it, although some people are experimenting with more combo-ish or storm variants, and they're starting to cut Ouroboros, or they go for the neutral package with Saha Quills and adding more neutral stuff. So it is an optional card. You can liquify it if you want the vials for something else. Also, you could get this off of the pre-build deck to get those extra free vials for your crystals. But overall, I think Ouroboros is still a solid card. It's an optional card to play in your dragon list, so I'm probably just going to keep mine. And yeah, that's pretty much it for my reviews on the 7 cards that recently been changed in the latest patch. Let me know what you guys think about the changes. How do you like them? Do you hate them? Are you missing any cards in particular? Let me know down below in the comments. As well as, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and check me out in my social media links that I have in the description down below. So thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Peace.
朝をむさぼり夜を吐き出し